Hello.
Well, the others told me to not say it, but I'm going ahead and say it because I'm a
Don't say it.
baby.
Don't say it.
I'll say it. I'll do what I want. Okay, I'm an adult. Okay, mom. So, uh, Parsing Grace, episode 11.
Oh no, he said
I
it.
did it.
I did it. I did it. I did it.
Nobody saw it coming.
I
Nobody.
broke the law. Nobody saw that coming. That's true. I didn't see it coming. I'm like, well, we're probably gonna be bored by episode 7 or something. But thankfully, we've had some really good guests in the last couple of episodes. No thanks to Yaz. Actually,
Hey.
thanks to Yaz. It was mostly thanks to Yaz. So Yaz, thank you
You're welcome.
for being part of the team and doing the hard work. How are we feeling tonight? How's everyone?
A bit chilly.
Chilly? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
Is this?
yeah, it's a meta joke, you moron. About the subject.
Oh,
So
dude, that flew so far by my head.
because
You don't even know.
if my memory serves
Yeah,
me correct,
yeah,
which it usually doesn't, I
yeah.
have been introducing a few people. Della is usually doing that. So how about Amran this time after your awesome dad joke you just made? How about you okay.
If you manage to say that, I will do that.
Introduce. How about you introduce our guest today?
Oh, nice.
Right.
Let's do it.
Yep. So tonight we're going to talk about the subject that we've been so prepared for. We are well read and I mean we are totally clueless about with our guest Gitfrog. Hi Git.
Hello.
Hello.
And you've already understood by my silly dad joke. We're talking about it's another class episode, by the way. We're talking about the best and also the worst class in the game, the Death Knights.
I'd say the best class.
Mhm.
Is it the most broken class though?
It depends. Depends what phase it is.
Do you have a Death Knight, Dele?
I do. He
What level is
is
that?
50. What's the starting level? 55.
5.
Yeah, he's. I'll briefly go over what happened when I created the character, and then I'll
Means I
let.
didn't even do these starting quests.
No, I didn't.
No, me neither.
And then I will let Git introduce himself to the public. So I saw this guy on the Mirage Raceway one day. He was called Bull Delphine, and I thought that that was so smart. He was playing a Tauren warrior. So I'm like, okay, maybe I can get a Death Knight going. He's gonna be a Tauren, and I'm gonna call him Bull Delphine, but written differently, since that would be my second character, and it would fit the name. And then I create the character, and I'm like, how hard can that be? How hard would being melee, be? And then I went to I did some of the first quests, and then there was this quest where you have to go into the starting area and beat down the sparring trainer or whatever that guy was. And I got fucking destroyed. And I'm like, okay, so I'm doing something wrong. And then I went to the balcony where Lich King was. We had a brief chat, and that's it. I logged out and never looked back in ever again.
Did you drop from the balcony to end your suffering?
No, I let my character there to
So is it
reminisce.
just melee you don't like then, or DKs in general?
No, if I'm pretty sure it was melee because I'm seeing all these melee strafing, so
Yeah.
I was auto attacking and strafing, but I wouldn't really auto attack some of the time, and I'm doing something wrong. And then after a while, I was like, I don't have time for this. Fuck it, I'm just gonna play mage. And then I logged off, and that was it.
Mages do tend to have it difficult with melee.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Yeah,
I
it's because we
think
suck, but yeah.
I think But I have seen a lot of people saying that if they have been playing ranged class, they prefer not to play the melee class. So it's not just about the mages, but in overall.
It's a total different playstyle, to be honest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm the opposite. When I'm on a range class, I'm more confused. Like, why I'm not standing next to the boss?
Mm.
So, Gitfrog,
Yes.
would you introduce yourself? Give us a little bit. Well, I mean, we know who you are. You're pretty famous, but
Am I?
you kind of are, yeah. But maybe other people might not. So,
So I'm Gitfrog. I was Guildmaster of Sholazar Silverbacks, still part of the officer team of Sholazar Silverbacks. I gave the Guildmaster to D-Now / Ziff when I went off when my baby was born. I'm back now raiding. I passed good in Ulduar and Nax, not so good in Trial of the Crusader because I was away for 6 to 8 weeks. But I'm back to try and pass well again.
Did they refuse to give you the GM back?
No, he keeps trying to offer it me back.
Oh, it's the other way around.
Yeah, he keeps offering me.
again, congrats on the newborn.
Thank you.
Are you a dad, a father, or a daddy?
I'm a dad.
A dad. Nice.
Daddy
Nice.
just sounds a bit weird.
It does, doesn't it,
Me
nowadays?
too.
And
It's
my
weird.
dad is a father. I'm not a father.
Oh, there you go. Important distinction.
Yeah.
Important distinction. So, before we go into the nitty gritty of the undead monstrosities that are the Death Knights,
Mm.
I thought you would
um,
say that are the children.
well, I don't have one, so I don't know. Would you here's what I want to do since I know nothing about Death Knights, obviously. How about you explain to me, like a 5-year-old, what a Death Knight is?
But this is Stella's 5-year-old time again.
Yes, I'm the 5-year-old.
A Death Knight is a resurrected warrior of the Lich King that's broken out of the Lich King's control and is now serving either Alliance or Horde. That's the law. What they are in the law.
Dude, that sounds so cool, though.
So
Yeah,
wait,
it is a class for edgy teenagers, and I was an edgy teenager the first time I played World of Warcraft, the Lich King, so
I mean,
that's why I went back to it.
so
One
if
at
you
a
go
time.
to Orgrimmar, everyone is like, yeah, go back where you came from.
They are
you know?
they are originally until you get Thrall to back you up.
Alright.
Ah.
until they see your parses, actually.
And then they shut up.
Don't,
they're like,
don't look at my trial passes; they're embarrassing. They make me cry.
Maybe they start cheering you when you get the Shadowmourne.
Yeah,
oh, we're so gonna get into that. I so wanna...
Shadowmourne. Yeah, that's a good topic.
Yeah,
Is
we're
it?
so getting into it. But first, I wanna ask something. What is like? I, it's one of those classes that I don't really. Whenever I'm in a raid, I don't really understand. When they're tanking, when they're DPSing, because they look like they can do both.
Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah,
with
they can.
with any tree or whatever. So, what's up with that?
Well, they were originally designed to be able to tank and DPS in all 3 specs. In reality, that's not really the case.
Uh huh.
So in reality, the raid tank spec is predominantly blood. If you be tanking as a DK, you're going to be tanking in raids as blood. If you want to just do dungeons or want to just tank trash, Frost is actually a good tank spec as well because it has better snap AoE threat. It just hasn't got as good survivability as the blood spec does, and Unholy is a bit of a meme tank spec. So if your tank is Unholy, they're memeing. And when it comes to damage, pretty much all the specs are good, depending what phase it is or what you're doing. So
Mm-hmm.
Frost is always really good. Like it's going to be really, really good in ICC. Unholy is godlike in phase 3, but not going to be particularly good in ICC. and then Blood is actually going to be the highest DPS in ICC when you get like all the armor pen and stuff. Is actually going to be the highest DPS.
Really?
Yeah.
So there's
Wow.
no such a thing as meme stuff with DKs. Like you can do basically whatever in whatever spec. No one is
Yeah,
saying
yeah.
like, "Oh, you are in the wrong spec." You're
Well,
always.
if you turn up as an unholy tank, then I think people are going to say you're in the wrong spec.
Dude, I wouldn't even know, honestly.
I
I
mean,
wouldn't even realize it.
I suppose it's got good AoE threat, but apart from that, you're probably going to just get one shot.
I mean, it's a fun spec. Frost for me is the most fun spec of the three.
But why is that? Like, what's the difference? Because as I just said, like my Death Knight is still at the starting zone, so I really didn't get into that.
Oh, yours as well? Wow.
Yes,
We're doing great.
my Yes, Rabas is still there.
So the difference between them really is Frost is kind of like more physical damage. Most of your damage comes from your auto attacks and your obliterates. So you really want to be stacking stuff like armor penetration. Whereas Unholy is more like most of the damage comes from snapshotting your gargoyle. So basically you want to get as much haste and as much strength as possible. And Blood Death
Hmm.
Knight is like just an absolute monster when you get to the armor pen cap, and will just like do mad crits, just beat everyone down basically.
Did you hate it when they made those changes to Gary? Like,
The gargoyle,
yeah,
it was annoying, but to be honest, it was needed because if they didn't change it, then Unholy would have been absolutely absurd in Ulduar.
right.
I remember
But
seeing some videos. That when the snapshot was still too hot, and everyone was farming all those proc weapons, they could like
Yeah,
swap mid fight and stuff.
so you could get what's the weapon from Nomargon called? I can't remember now. The one that Ferals used to use in Classic.
oh yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah, that one. So technically, that would have been a viable weapon to use at the beginning to snapshot your
Oh
gargoyle and then
yeah.
swap into your main weapons. But people stopped doing that because Warcraft logs told everyone that was naughty and it would invalidate your log if you did that.
Naughty children.
Yeah.
Well, but you sound hopeful for DKs in the upcoming phase. You just listed like all the 3 DPS specs that are gonna be, let's say,
Yeah. So
easy top 5, right?
yeah, I think Blood and Frost are going to be top 5. Unholy is going to lag behind a bit because all the itemization in all ICC is not very good to Unholy. Unholy doesn't want armor pen really at all, and Unholy just wants loads of strength, loads of haste, and that's it. There isn't really much of that gear in ICC.
Hmm.
It's all armor pen, which is good for the Bloods and the Frost DKs. So that's why they're gonna pull ahead. But you always want to have one Unholy in your raid anyway, so that you're not gonna not stop seeing Unholies in the raid.
What's the easier spec to play?
The easiest one is Blood, shortly followed by Frost, and then Unholy is an absolute clusterfuck.
It's like a piano, right? Like I've seen
It's
people,
just
yeah.
crazy.
I've
Is
seen
that
people playing it.
is that a class that everyone could play?
I mean, everyone can
Like,
play any class. It just
yeah,
depends
but
how
like,
good you are going to be.
yeah, of course. Would you say that it's easy to get into that?
Yeah, I'd say it's easy to get into like Frost and Blood. Like at the moment, you're probably not going to be wanting to play Blood because there's not that much armor pen around. But Frost is really quite easy to get into. You just press your buttons. That's it.
Yeah, it didn't feel frosted, at least on phase 1, phase 2, didn't feel like it needed much effort, to be honest, to be good at it.
So, what level is your Death Knight then, Alex?
Oh, mine is 80.
Oh,
I,
the cool
I
guy.
actually,
Ooh,
Somebody wants you to
I
get
actually
repaired.
played a bit, yeah.
Yeah, I
Only
remember you
for,
dying to Sortharion quite a
yeah,
lot.
only
Mm.
Frost though, only Frost, because it was so fucking easy. It was insane, especially leveling up, and on the early raids, was insane. The difference between the damage of geared people and you just hit 80 and you just beat the shit out of them. It was insane.
And also because your heart is cold as ice. So
Yeah, that as well.
it's
We did
Yeah.
have a lot of DKs we originally recruited as Unholy, but begged to go Frost because the Unholy spec is just not fun to play for a lot of people.
So when you play a class like this, the same goes to DPS paladins and druids as well. Are you kind of obligated to swap to tanking and vice versa when you play a class like that?
Well, it's always good to have a tank off spec anyway. Makes making dungeon groups easier if you want to do any daily dungeons and stuff like that. I'm not obligated to do it. There are classes in our raids that are obligated to do it. So our Rep Paladin has a tanking off spec to tank 10 mans. Our Frost DK has an off spec to tank 10 mans, but I myself haven't been expected. So I've got two DPS specs at the moment. One of them Unholy, one of them Blood.
Right. I wanted to ask something real quick. Sorry, Armand. I've seen, and shout out to Chad Falcon, by the way, because I've seen it from him. What's this other weird spec that you guys have that has a different icon in Warcraft logs? I don't even know how to call it.
Oh, there are loads of different icons.
Which
one do you mean?
It's neither an Unholy, neither Blood or a Frost. It's another one.
Is it the what's that spell? Rune Strike. Is it the Rune Strike?
Oh,
icon?
probably.
Yeah, that means it's a tank, basically. That's someone tanking with Rune Strike.
Oh, it's a tank DPS spec.
Because
Like the
sometimes
Paladins
I think
got the
it's because
Justicar.
Warcraft logs finds it really difficult to work out which tank you are. If you're playing a DK, sometimes they just stick the Rune Strike symbol on it when they know you're a tank, but they can't really tell what spec you are. Or if you don't do enough damage or something like that. I don't, the inner workings of Warcraft logs is kind of like black magic.
So, is it then like when it comes to gear wise, if you play DPS and a tank on the Death Knight, does it change a lot, or can you just do whatever on the same set?
No, you need your defense cap if you're a tank. You always need your 540 defense. Otherwise, you're just going to get crit in one shot. So you need completely different sets.
Okay.
What kind of come in similar is the weapons, because sometimes you're using a two-hander, or you can use for tanking as a DK, so you can pick up specific two-handers. Some of them DPS, some of them are just like random ones nobody wants. So like in this phase, Flesh Render is the best tank weapon, which is like the agi one from a noob. I don't think many other people want that one, so the Death Knights just pick that one up.
Man,
yeah.
Lucky for you.
Sometimes you use two one-handers as a Death Knight as well, because they at least come with tank stacks then, because you don't really. It doesn't really depend on your weapon, the threat you do, because all your threat comes from icy touch. So it doesn't really matter if you're wearing a two-handers or dual wielding.
Right. So I'm going to link this so that you know which icon I'm talking about. See if I was actually going to put it on general. If I was actually right, because I don't know, it feels weird to me. He is a DPS, but I don't know what that is.
So that's the heart strike symbol I think you're talking about.
Yeah.
That means he's a blood DPS. But I take that with a pinch of salt, because Warcraft logs is really bad at discerning blood DPS versus blood tanks. You'd have to go and have a look what he's actually doing.
Right. I see. So riddle me this. We had Timas Barbie 2 episodes ago, and he's Holy Valley, and he was asked which tank. What was the question? Which tank do you least like to heal? And he said blood.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah. Why is that? Do they take a lot of damage? I don't get it.
Well, it's not that they take more damage than any other spec, is that the health is kind of spiky because
Oh.
instead of having a shield, we don't block. We heal back up the difference. So basically, what paladins and warriors would block, the Death Knight heals back with death strikes and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
So that means from the healer's perspective, the Death Knight's health is getting really low. It's like spiking really low, but then spiking up again. But that's because he's just done a death strike and he's like healed himself back up to like high enough health. So I
Mhm.
can understand from a healer's perspective, it looks really scary that the health is spiking up and down, up and down, up and down. But Death Knight's not usually in danger because one, they can heal themselves, and two, they have a mini Ardent Defender, or from the Ardent Defender, what Paladins have, which is super OP.
Mhm.
But Death Knights have a mini version of that called Will of the Necropolis. So you take 15% less damage for when you're under 35% health, basically. So
Wow.
it's really hard to get one shot as a Death Knight. So as long as you're like waiting around with your death strikes until you take like a chunk of damage and then you death strike back up, it's really hard to just get like one shot or like die within a few global cooldowns.
Right. Do you toggle that off, or is it just
No,
procs
it's
like Ardent?
all the time. It's procs
Oh,
like Ardent.
I see. I see. I see.
It's not as strong as Ardent, but Ardent Defender's OP.
Well,
Yeah.
paladins. What can you do?
Hmm.
Do you guys complement each other in a raid? I mean, the different specs. If you were to have like 3 different DK specs in a raid, would they complement each
So
other?
yeah, so when ICC rolls around, our raid group will have all 3 specs represented. Well, all 4 specs if you count tank as a different spec. So Uwu we have as our blood tank. We'll have 2 frost DKs. We'll have 1 unholy DK for the magic buff that it gives everybody, and then we'll have me as the blood DK. And they all
Mm-hmm.
complement the raids in different ways. So Frost brings the 20% haste buff, and they're just like really good damage anyway. So it's not a problem if you stack multiple of them. Unholy gets the magic debuff, and they got really good spike damage with the gargoyle. And then Blood DK, they don't bring much to the raid. They bring 10% attack power buff, but they're just really crazy damage. So I'm going Blood just purely because I like doing big numbers.
Who doesn't? I feel you. Who doesn't? Right.
But Blood is very gear dependent, so I wouldn't recommend going Blood outside of ICC because they scale like Fury Warriors with gear. The more gear you stack
Mm-hmm.
on them, the higher damage they'll do.
Mm-hmm. Man, I gotta ask this. Are you getting the first Shadowmourne or Fury
I
Warriors?
am, yes. I'm getting the first Shadowmourne, and then So Smashy, who you had on a couple episodes ago, is second on Shadowmourne.
Ah,
But when is Ufu getting his?
Uwu. I don't. Well,
Mm-hmm.
to be honest, if we gave a tank a Shadowmourne, I think we'd have
Oh
a
yeah,
riot.
he's tanking. Oh yeah, I forgot.
ooh, shout out to
That's
Uwu.
true. Yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah, tanking classic raids. He's great.
He's
I love
great.
him. I love him. Man, you're kind of doing so smashy dirty. I gotta say, I'll say
Yeah.
it publicly. Yeah, he's like, yep, true.
We
I am.
know.
I am. Is it? Do you get it because you're you, or because it's actually like more beneficial for a DK? So if you had like 2 people who are on the same level, like a Fury Warrior and a Blood Death Knight or a Frost Death Knight or whatever, probably a Blood Death Knight.
Yeah, you're
Would
not going
you?
to two-hand up Frost.
Yeah, would you give it to the best out of the 2, or is one of the classes
So yeah, so
better
this
with it?
is like comes down to who do you give Shadowmourne to? It's really up to the guild, like how you want to hand out Shadowmourne, I guess. I won't take too much stock in how much Sims are saying Shadowmourne gives you, because everyone's going to start simming in their favor, which I've seen already, like on the different discords. Like I've seen Blood DKs say, "Oh shit, we get like 1,500 DPS more with Shadowmourne. Look at this sim." And then I see Paladins go, "Oh well, I get X amount with Shadowmourne. Look at this sim." And so I won't take too much stock, because I think everyone's simming like in their favor to show you how much they deserve Shadowmourne. What
Right.
what I would say is you should give Shadowmourne to basically your best players. Where I think you'd agree So Smashy is one of our best players. I'd
Yeah.
say I'm one of the best players in the guild, but that's just me.
He's one of the best players in the server, let alone the guild, I think.
I'm not so much this time around, but I took some time off.
Okay, maybe you could be. Although looking at your parses, you keep saying that, oh, my parses were shit, in TOGC, and they're really not. I mean, you've set the bar at a different level, I guess. So
I'm happy with my 10-man passes. If you look at my 10-man passes, I'm happy.
Oh, hold on.
Forget, are you happy with the current state of the class in general in phase 3?
I would say that I wish they would stop Morb spec. Morb spec is just not a very nice spec to play as Unholy. I wish they would just buff. They'd buff Scourge Strike and then just nerf us somewhere else, so we didn't have to play Morb spec and we could play proper two-handed Unholy again. But that's just me. Maybe some people
Okay.
like playing Morb spec, but they're just crazy.
No, I see.
Blood and Frost are really good.
Is this an Nubarak kill of 1 minute and 41 seconds? Is that what I'm looking at?
I think so.
Fuck. Okay. All right. Yeah, I can see what you mean. Yeah, makes sense. So, let's entertain a thought here, right? So let's just say that I decide to level up the Death Knight that I have. It's a huge hypothetical scenario, but you never know.
He has a lot of rested bonus now.
I do. I do. It's true. What would you suggest that I would look into first? Like in terms of content to learn and get better, or in terms of tips, or in terms of any ideas that you may have that would help my learning curve get easier, I guess.
So if you mean from leveling to raiding?
Yeah, like imagine I've never touched a melee class in my life, but let's just take that out of the picture. So I get to 80, right? So because leveling is whatever, it's leveling. So what do I do to get better?
To get better, I just because you've not played melee before, I'd just steer clear of Unholy altogether.
Right.
I'd go Frost.
Okay.
Unholy, you've probably just got too much to think about, as well as surviving in melee. I'd just go Frost, and then you just need to get yourself some good weapons, I guess. And Frost is, I wouldn't say it's the simplest spec, but it is quite a nice simple spec to start off with. And you can go in, mash your buttons, and you'll do good damage. If you mash your buttons in the proper way, you'll do better damage, but you can't just mash your buttons on Frost and do good damage still.
Oh, sounds like my favorite class. after Maze,
You won't pass like 90s or anything, because you have to mash your buttons in the correct way. But yeah, you'll still do good.
Can I like in one of the episodes when we were discussing about mage, we got this anonymous Warcraft logs to help the person to understand how they can improve.
Okay.
Since we are not like any of us is playing in Death Knight, can I send you a link to a Warcraft logs and could we do similar kind of?
Okay.
Like this is really average. Logs is like 55, so I think that's Then there's something to actually improve and not like how we did with the mage.
So
don't say the name.
Yeah, okay. With the DKs, the DK Discords have actually made a really good tool to there's a Chrome plugin that you can download, and basically it gives you an extra button when you look at a DK on a fight that you can that you can click on, and it will tell you basically. It'll give them a score of how well they've played on that spec. So it supports all 3 DK DPS specs, and it'll tell you how well they've played. So looking at this person on their Lord Jyrexus heroic, I can see that they only had a 32% uptime on their Death and Decay. Now, Death and Decay is your like number 1 damage outside of just melee swings on Unholy Death Knight. So you want as high uptime on Death and Decay as possible. That's the whole point of Morb spec, is you take morbidity to reduce the cooldown of Death and Decay to 15 seconds, so you can just spam it as much as possible, even on single target. It's your highest damaging ability. Same with his Desolation uptime, so that's when you Blood Strike on an Unholy Death Knight, you get a 5% damage buff. He only had 77%, which is quite bad. That needs to be 100%. You're basically nerfing yourself by 5% when you don't have that buff up.
Do you... I'm sorry to interrupt you. Did you use any weak aura or something to track that yourself?
Oh, yeah. I made my own weak auras, but if you want pre-made weak auras, the Death Knight Discords have made weak auras for everybody to use. So it just tracks all this. I have mine just flashing up at me when Desolation gets down to like 7 seconds. It just flashes at me, just to remind me I need to press Blood Strike at some point in the next 7 seconds to keep the buff up, basically. I can also see this person Sigil of Virulence, so that's the phase 3 sigil. It gives you 200 strength whenever you Death Strike. Well, there's an 80% chance when you Death Strike, Obliterate, or Scourge Strike, you get 200 strength. He only had that up for 44% of the time. That needs to be like near 100. So he's just nerfing himself by 200 strength there. It says they only had a melee uptime of 85%, so they're only meleeing the actual boss for 85% of the time, which is obviously bad for DPS. And then the Gargoyle's fine.
So basically, all these that you said are not depending on the gear, but these are
these are things you can improve.
Yes.
These are non-gear dependent, basically. So these are things that any Unholy can do. Like here, it says his Ghoul only used Gnaw 3 times. So like if you don't macro Gnaw into your abilities as an Unholy, your Ghoul just doesn't use Gnaw for some reason. Like the AI for the Ghoul is crap. So it will just sit there at 100 energy and not use any of its abilities. So you have to macro them into your abilities to command it to use its abilities. So all my abilities have the /pet attack use Gnaw in it, so it actually uses its energy.
It's not going to do it on its own?
Well, it does do it on its own, just randomly. It doesn't. It will sit at 100 energy and won't use its energy for like 5 seconds at a time. And this person, I can see, the Ghoul only used Gnaw 3 times in the entirety of the Lord Jyrexus fight. So yeah,
Fucking Gary,
the
man.
AI is crap. That's not Gary. That's the Ghoul.
Oh, they're different?
Yeah, you get a pet Ghoul as an
Dude,
Unholy.
I
And
know
then
nothing.
Gary's at some like a DPS cooldown.
Oh, you mean the no? Oh, I see.
The undead thing you get.
Yeah, I see.
Jid, may I
Wow.
ask you something about the pets the Unholy Death Knight has? Because I'm not familiar with Unholy at all. What do you think the damage of the Unholy would be without his pets?
Without his pets, it would be terrible spec.
I mean,
Like
can the gargoyles die?
no, if your gargoyle dies, you're not passing for that fight. Gargoyle is a massive amount of your damage.
I mean, can it be damaged though? Can it die from like AoE?
Oh yeah, it can die. So you need to be really careful on fights such as Beasts of Northrend, because they can get cleaved or thunderstruck or something, and just get one shot. So like when you're fighting Beasts of Northrend, when you summon your Ghoul on I can't remember what the the first beast is called now. You need to walk away from the boss to summon him, otherwise he will just die.
What's the cooldown of the gargoyle?
3 minutes.
Oh, sure.
Oh, it's a major
So-
cooldown. I see.
Can you like
Yes.
as a hunter, you can expect and demand healers to heal your pet. Can you do that as a Death Knight?
For your ghoul, yes, but your ghoul's not going to die, really, because using Unholy Frenzy on it, which actually heals it as well.
Okay.
So, unless you're really unlucky, your ghoul's not going to die, and it takes like 90% less damage from AoE abilities. So it's not just going to get randomly cleaved down either.
So for Unholy, correct me if I'm wrong, but from the analysis, you basically have to find the perfect timing to unleash Gary.
So usually the perfect timing is at the beginning when you bloodlust. So because Gary snapshots, not with haste anymore, but it still snapshots with your strength.
Right.
So when you get all your trinket procs and everything, and then you cast Gary, and hopefully your shaman bloodlust on time, or you get really annoyed with them because they didn't bloodlust and Gary's been fucking wasted.
Yeah. Fucking
But
shaman.
so I'll send you my Lord Jaraxxus log, and you can see how much damage my pets do. So you can see Summon Gargoyle and Eye Catcher together did over 25% of my damage. And then if you add Army into that, that's 30%. Over 30% of my damage is all from just pets.
Right.
So you can see that Unholy is really heavily reliant on the pets and guardians that they summon to actually do a lot of damage. And you can see their Death and Decay was the highest damaging ability outside of pets.
Yeah.
So that's why you need that up all the time.
That's the AoE that's on the ground.
Yes.
Right.
So that's your highest single target damage as well.
Right. I see. I mean, that sounds like a lot. Yeah, that sounds like a lot.
I say that's why I wouldn't pick Unholy if you're the first, if it's your first melee character. There's just too much to think about as an Unholy. It's just safer going Frost.
Right.
So if you macro everything that you can, is it still that you need to really, really pay attention to every second of the fight when you need to press this button and that button? How many buttons do you have?
How many buttons? Let me go in. Let me go into my Unholy spec. I'm sat in blood at the moment.
At
I
least
bet you
it's
have
not.
more than. I bet
So,
you have
so
more
that's
than 50
that,
buttons.
so that's not like a mage pressing that one button.
Hey.
So my general, just my general rotation without any cooldowns or anything like that added on top is nine buttons. Or
What?
10 buttons.
Ooh, I think that's
Dude.
the highest I have heard.
10 buttons is my general rotation, yeah.
So the meme where this one guy is playing Unholy and he's sweating his balls off, and then there's this other guy who's playing Frost and he's dancing while hitting buttons. It's actually true. I see. Okay. I see. Do you guys have this weird thing that Red Paladins also have, where you basically smash one button and you do the entire rotation, or
No, sadly
no?
not.
Would you like that though?
I mean, it would make it really boring. You can do that in Blood DK, and you can technically do it in Frost DK, but you wouldn't do as much damage. But Blood DK, you can definitely have a one-button macro.
Right.
And I would say, actually, if you are struggling with any DK specs, the DK Fonzus has actually made a next action guide, like a weak aura, which tells you which ability to use next. You'll probably start passing in the 90s if you use that. If you want to pass 99s, you're gonna have to learn the spec intimately yourself, I think. But you will start doing pretty good damage if you use the next action guides.
Oh, we're gonna have to link that on the description for sure.
Yeah.
In case people want to see it.
You have brought up a few times about the class Discord. Is people can be really harsh. Usually on those class Discords. How's the stuff on the Death Knights?
So there's 2 Death Knight Discords, funnily enough.
I was gonna
because
ask that as well. Yeah.
one of them's an absolute shit show of just memeing, and the other one's actually useful.
Okay.
So yeah, everyone knows Blight Club for
Mhm.
the Death Knights. That's the
Blight
shit
Club.
show meme show.
Okay, so that is the
If you want
worst
if you want
one.
actually good information and everybody like kind of actually theory crafts and stuff and does sims and like develops like weaker UIs and stuff that you can get, I'd highly recommend Ebb and Hold Discord.
Okay.
Hmm.
That Fonzus actually runs that Discord as well, so that's the person who originally made the Next Action Guide, and I think is a group of people now that actually look after that.
So, from the discussion so far, I got that yes, there are hard and easier Death Knight specs. The how should I say that? The skill floor is relatively higher than other classes. So when you start, it's not a very welcoming class, I should say. Yes, you can see a lot of DPS probably, even if you're doing it wrong and you're playing Frost. But you're not going to see like a 90 parse. But you're going to be relatively okay, I guess.
Yeah, Frost is friendly enough, I think. It's pretty
Yeah,
intuitive what buttons you want to press.
yeah.
With Unholy, the intuitive way to play Unholy is not the way to play Unholy. You need to play in a weird way to actually get the best DPS out of it you can.
Mm-hmm.
And then
I see.
Blood DPS is really easy. Is really intuitive. You just press 3 buttons, but is really gear dependent and is
Yeah,
dependent on ICC gear to actually do good.
yeah. So, what do you think are the most common mistakes that people do on Death Knights? And you can answer that. I know that you play DPS, but I bet that you have some tanking also
Okay, yeah.
experience.
So for DPS wise, for Unholy is not snapshotting your gargoyle correctly. So where at the beginning of the fight, everybody just really wants to get their opening rotation out as quickly as possible so they can get into the fight.
Mm-hmm.
With Unholy, you kind of have to wait for your procs to go off. Like you have to wait for your tier 2 proc, which is 180 additional strength on your heart on your blood strike. You need to wait for your trinkets to proc, so your Dark Moon Card Greatness, your Death's Choice, and then you need to wait for like Rune of the Fallen Crusader to proc as well, and then you can like basically summon Gary. If you
Right.
quickly get it out, and you don't have some of those procs, your Gary's just doing less damage than if you waited like a few seconds to get it out.
Right. But how long can you wait though?
You wait until one of your procs drops off. So it's not likely because your trinkets and like your Rune of the Fallen Crusader are very likely to proc in the first at least 5 to 10 seconds of the fight. It's very likely you're going to get all the procs at the beginning.
Right.
But if you're not, if you like your Sigil of Virulence, that sometime is an absolute arsehole to you because it's an 80% chance to proc. But sometimes when you use 2 Scourge Strikes and it hasn't procced, then it can be a bit annoying. And you wait,
Mhm.
you wait as long as you can until one of your like strength procs are going to drop off, and then you just give up and you summon Gary anyway.
Mhm.
But you're not going to pass then, but But what you're going to pass when you get all your procs up. But
I
it's
see.
better to
Wait,
get a somewhat like limp Gary out than just not get Gary out at all.
A limp Gary.
mhm. So you mentioned greatness. Is that
Yes.
still beast like for the whole expansion for Unholy?
Technically not BIS. Well, depends on the fight. Single target, not BIS. Single target, the BIS is Death's Choice and Comet's Trail.
Right.
I have been so unlucky. There's only been one Comet's Trail drop in the entirety of our raids,
Oh
so I
wow.
haven't got Comet's Trail yet. But Dark Moon Card Greatness and Death's Choice is still a pretty good trinket combination. It is actually best in slot on AoE fights where your hasted up Gary is not doing as much damage as your diseases and death and decay, which
Mm.
is most fights in Trial of the Crusader. Most fights have got cleave and AoE on them, so Death Choice and Diamond Card Greatness is better in those fights anyway.
So would
And
you say that trinkets matter more than the weapon at the moment?
trinkets for Unholy matter a lot more than the weapons. The weapons basically mean nothing. They're just stat sticks really to hit the boss with.
Oh, interesting.
Like, yeah, it's good. It's good to get like your Caress of Insanities and stuff, but it's not like a Death's Choice where not having Death's Choice versus having Death's Choice is like an 800 DPS difference.
I see. What about the other specs and any common mistakes? If I can drag you back to this one.
Blood. Common mistake is using your Death Strike in the wrong in the wrong place. So what I mean by that, when you have 2 Death Runes up, which means if you don't know DK, so Death Runes you can use as any rune. So you can use it as a Blood, Frost, or Unholy rune. And you get these Death Runes in Blood by casting Death Strike, and they will refresh as Death Runes.
Okay.
But if you use these Death Runes on Death Strike again, that's just a DPS loss. You want to use those on Heart Strikes, and it's quite easy to do if your other runes are on cooldown and it says you can cast your Death Strike. It's quite tempting to cast your Death Strike, but you need to wait until you only use Death Strikes on Frost and Unholy runes, and don't waste your Death Runes on them.
Right.
With Frost, I think it's pretty difficult to make mistakes, apart from using your Killing Machine procs wrongly. You want to use your Killing Machine procs on, I'm not particularly sure, but I think you want to use your Killing Machine procs on Frost Strike, or in AoE, if you're AoE and you want to use it on Howling Blast. And then for tanks, the biggest mistake I see is people just using all their runes up and having all their runes on cooldown.
Yeah.
Usually in DPS, that's what you want. You want all your runes on cooldown, so you're not wasting DPS. But because the way Blood DK works as a tank, you get most of your threat from Icy Touches anyway. And Icy Touch does so much damage, it's so much threat, it's basically a taunt, so no one is going to take threat off you. So you can sit around with your runes. You want at least one set of runes off cooldown at one time. So what I mean is you want a Blood rune, a Frost rune, and an Unholy rune off cooldown at all times. And then when your second set are going to come off cooldown, you use them up. And then you have the other ones on off cooldown. And the reason for that is so you actually have something to do when shit hits the fan. If you have all your runes on cooldown as a Death Knight and shit hits the fan, you can't do anything, basically. So if you get chunked down to like 1% and all your runes are on cooldown, you're basically in God's hands then, because you can't do anything about it.
Yeah, I see.
If you had runes off cooldown, you could Death Strike, you could Rune Tap, could actually get your health back up, you could self-heal yourself.
And that is the moment of us, Amaranth. That's when we decide who gets to live.
That's when Holy Paladins light up a cigarette. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so that is one of the biggest mistakes I see Death Knight tanks doing. And if you have a Death Knight tank, don't expect them to do much damage, because most of their threat comes from Icy Touch anyway, and the rest of what they're doing is just keeping themselves alive.
I was actually thinking about that. You kind of put it up now. I was going to ask, since you did look up the logs, how about the tanks as a Death Knight? Is there something that you should be look at, like the passes as a tank?
Oh, good question. Yeah.
Passes as a tank, I think, are a bit of a meme unless you're speed running, and then you're not going to take a Death Knight tank with you if you're speed running anyway. The Death Knight tanks are all about survivability and just not dying and absorbing an obscene amount of magic damage and having a shitload of health, basically. You're not going to pass as a Blood DK tank, purely the fact you don't do much damage anyway. And yeah, other tanks, Paladin tanks and stuff, you can pass on them if you want, but as long as you're surviving and you're not trolling the healers by just scaring the shit out of them all the time, I think you're keeping threat. I think you're doing a good enough job.
Yeah. So it's a bit
sounds reasonable.
similar as with the healers. Like, oh well, we can look at the logs, but did the tank die? Well, the tank survived. Okay, then you did good. It's fine.
Right.
So,
Um,
Git, are you scared about the next, let's say, tire, about the TK situation and the other middle classes finally climbing up the ladder?
No, I like the competition.
Uh,
It's been so easy so far, just summoning Gary and then just getting like 16k DPS, and you're just sitting there at the top of the meters with no one even near you.
Yeah,
It
imagine
has been
seeing a
so
warrior in the
easy.
top 10.
Yeah,
He
You're
says
like,
it
whoa.
has been so easy, and yet he's pushing all those 9 buttons in a rotation.
yeah. Well, you just get used to it after a while, don't you?
Yeah.
yeah, you're smashing your head on the keyboard. I guess I don't know. It sounds to me. It sounds. I don't know, man. I could never do it. Honestly, I don't know. Like a 10-button rotation. Nah, get out of here. No. I'm not doing that. I'm fine with my 3 buttons. Okay.
So that's why you're
I'm
a
okay.
mage, I see.
Dude, yeah. I mean, why would I? Why would I do that to myself? I don't get it. But I understand that it's it comes from challenging yourself a little bit more. So that makes sense. That makes sense. So Yid, have there been any fights that you particularly enjoyed so far? And what are the fights in ICC that you're most excited about as a Death Knight?
So fights I enjoy as Unholy. All the fights in Trial are pretty good for Unholy. Pretty fun because you get to
Mm-hmm.
AoE and cleave a lot. Yoxeron is a particularly good fight that I like. That's a nice fight for Unholy DKs. Algalon is pretty nice as well. Polygon, the Bridgeman, he's
Of
nice
course.
to cleave.
Yeah.
I hate Memoron, even though it's a really good cleave fight. Memoron is just, I don't like it. Too much
Yeah.
fire.
You have to move, right?
I
You have to
love
move.
it!
Yeah, fuck that. Fuck that fight.
Yeah.
It sucks.
Fights I'm looking forward to in ICC. Basically, all but the healing fight I'm looking forward to. I really
The
love
dragon.
ICC. The dragon, yeah, it's just fucking
Mm.
boring.
Yeah, it is
I'm
boring.
just
if you're a
killing
good player.
trash.
Yeah, true.
Originally, in Original Wrath, I actually played a DK tank, and my favorite fight back then for that was Syndragosa because I got to single tank that. That was fun. Fun
Oh,
challenge to single tank it.
dude, from what I've seen from PTR so far, from other people playing PTR, because I'm not doing that,
It looks pretty difficult, yeah.
it is. Yeah, looks pretty tough. Looks pretty tough. But I
Don't
don't
break
know.
my dreams, okay?
Dude, it does. I'm not sure if it's like harder than buffed Ulduar.
Well, if you
The-
believe Sarth, he says it's harder than anything else you've ever played before, even Sunwell Plateau and Ulduar.
dude, Sarth's a meme though, right? So,
Yeah.
Oof.
I mean, you
Hey.
have to attract people to your videos, so
yeah, I mean,
it's like
yeah,
better.
you have to
Like,
overcompensate. Yeah.
in vanilla, I so loved the ICC, and I really have that in the good memory out of all the other raids though, where we have been.
Yeah.
And I was in a guild called No Progress, and we literally
We actually did no progress.
I think that we were like the first dad guilds, like we were all really old already at that time, except me, of course.
Right.
And and I don't think we ever pushed those buttons or
I remember
really
not
did.
playing very well in originally either.
Yeah, but we did clear everything, and we had Lich King on farm and everything. So I was kind of hoping that that's how it would go. So just
Maybe
let's
on
keep it
normal,
that
maybe
way.
on normal mode. Heroic looks pretty difficult. So I think
Yeah.
a lot of people struggle on the heroic modes.
Yeah.
It's gonna be fun again.
Yeah.
Trust me, this one.
Yeah,
I don't know,
well,
there are
this
some some fights are like Lady Death Whisper. Jesus, imagine trying to get the entire raid to do one thing. Avoid
Actually
no
getting
no no.
people to play the game properly. Oh no.
Yeah, I mean
But
I don't know.
but
dude.
this is what we have all been waiting. Like this is what we have been waiting since Classic started again. And now we're there.
That's true. That's true.
Almost there.
Almost there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna take a while till we get to Lich King. I think. I don't know, but maybe.
Well, you can
Uh,
switch it in the middle of the raid. So you can, if you're struggling on a heroic, you can just switch it to normal,
Yeah.
and
That's
just do the
true.
normal boss. So it's going to
By the
be
way,
you can clear it if you're okay at playing the game. You'll probably be able to clear it on normal mode, and then just build up your gear so you can clear it on heroic
That's
as well.
true. That's true. No shame
are
in
they
that.
adding the
No,
chances
there's no
again?
shame in that.
Or the buff, like they did back then?
The buff, yeah, I think they are doing the buff that they did originally, where you get 30% extra damage and health and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
Right. Right. So, Git, I know maybe we were not very helpful because most of the questions that we asked were like very, at least mine were very childish. Because honestly, I know nothing about Death Knights. I don't even understand what they do when I see them.
That's all right.
I just see like a big honky dude like beating the shit out of the boss, and I'm like, okay, that's he's doing stuff, I guess. So before we go to your shout outs or because it's been an hour, I wanted you to ask if you could like briefly go through some tips for this phase. Let's not talk about ICC because ICC is not launched yet.
Yeah.
So for any DKs that might want to improve their game.
This is like a last hope. You have last week's.
Yeah,
These
yeah,
are
yeah.
your tips to improve.
Exactly. This is how you get better in
Yeah,
in
so
TOTC. Let's do it.
Tip number one to get better damage as Unholy is get yourself a Death Choice trinket.
Okay.
That's number one. Get Death Choice.
All right.
But well, apart from that, well, even the normal mode version's good. So just get a version of it, and then some like really minute things. If you've still got the Dark Moon card greatness, there's a weird quirk where if you use Ghoul Frenzy, that heals your pet, and that can proc Dark Moon card greatness. And you don't want to do that you don't want to do that before the boss. So you usually want to precast Ghoul Frenzy, so your Ghoul has like a 25% haste buff before the fight starts.
Uh-huh.
But you don't want to proc your trinket. So for ages, a lot of people just didn't precast because they think they'd preemptively proc their trinket. But if you cast it and then do /sit, it won't proc any of your trinkets, which is a weird quirk with the spaghetti code.
What? Really?
Yeah, so if you cast Ghoul Frenzy and sit, you won't proc the Dark Moon card greatness until you stand back up again. So
What
that's
the
like
fuck?
really good to do to precast.
What the fuck, man?
Yeah,
What?
it's crazy.
Wow.
That's a really good thing to precast. Also, I see a lot of Unholies not snapshotting Army of the Dead. Army of the Dead also snapshots off of haste. It still snapshots off of haste and strength. So once you cast your Gargoyle and then you do all your haste stuff, then you can cast Army of the Dead, and that will snapshot off all your buffs as well. And then that'll do extra damage.
Oh, you guys do that at the start or
No, so Frost and Blood will precast it because Unholy's armies are buffed. You want to snapshot it, so it actually does more damage. So you can
Oh, I
snapshot
see.
it like in the first 10 seconds of the fight, and then you cast it once you got all your buffs.
I see.
It depends on the fight, really. If you're fighting something like a noob that has trash, you don't want to cast Army of the Dead because that will just troll the tanks because it'll start taunting everything. You'll wipe. Only cast Army of the Dead when you're against boss level monsters, because then they don't taunt.
Right. How do you guys
Uh,
handle a new bats?
how do I handle the noob ads?
Yeah, like the
We just
big
hold them
guys.
next to the boss and cleave them down.
Oh, okay. So you have the ability to cleave them. You don't like as a class. You don't single target them at all, right?
Well, unless raid leader calls for single target them down, you just cleave them.
Right. I see. Okay, makes sense.
Yeah. Unholy is a really good cleave class. Just because your single target is a lot of AoE spells anyway, like Death and Decay, you just naturally cleave.
Hmm.
Another tip for Unholies as well is Gary is pretty sluggish, so when you first cast him,
Mhm.
he's not casting straight away. He has a 3-second animation until he actually does something.
Fucking Gary,
So
man.
yeah, so you want to, after you cast him, you want to wait 3 seconds until using your hyperspeed accelerators, your berserking if you're a troll, and your potion of speed, because otherwise you're just wasting 3 seconds of it while Gary is doing fuck all basically.
Mhm.
So you cast him, wait 3 seconds, and then cast all your haste, and then he will get your haste that you've got currently.
So
Mhm.
it's like daily on the mornings.
Yeah,
It
he's
takes some
just
time
lazy.
for him to wake up.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gary's just lazy, yeah.
It takes me 5 hours, but it takes Gary like 3 seconds. So I don't
Yeah.
know.
But the fights are short as well. So I was trying to, like put that to the correct timeline.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Shadows.
Shoutouts.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Let
We
me
must
get
not
my
forget.
guild list up.
My guild is
Oh.
yeah, all the raiders and the socials, one by one. But by the way, we actually do love Sholazar here. I think
Yeah,
you
yeah,
guys
We
are.
do.
I think
We
it's
do,
turned
yeah.
into a Sholazar Silverbacks podcast.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are cool. Like,
Yeah,
really
true.
cool people.
You can also start with Smashy since you're stealing his Shadowmourne.
That's
I'm
also
not, st-
good.
not stealing a Shadowmourne, he's getting the second one.
You guys are like Havana Room, but like cooler. You know, something like that.
Yeah.
And it's really
Are you saying
nice.
Havana Room aren't cool?
I don't know. They're to me, they're kind of cringe. Sorry, but
Oh shit.
Wow,
yeah.
okay.
For,
Yeah.
for
No, why not? Why? It's my opinion. I mean, I'm
His opinion
cringe to
or
them
his
too.
own
You know.
opinions.
Yeah.
for me, the people I have met from Mrs. have been really nice, like Uvo included and us and everything. How people are in the guild, that affects a lot. And I didn't know about your logs and everything when I joined. When we transferred to this server, I first got to know the people that were really awesome, and then I realized, oh well, this guild is awesome as well. So your
Yeah,
parses and everything, your
we
success.
like to do well. Like we're not saying we're the best, but we like to do decently well.
Yeah.
I've said my piece. I'm fine with it.
You're just insulting the best guild on the server. That's
So,
all.
so who else are we shout-outing except one whole guild?
So yeah,
And
so the whole
probably the
guild,
Discords.
the whole guild, yeah. So if you're interested in Death Knights, go to Ebb and Hold Discord. They're really good, really friendly there. You can ask them questions. There's like no stupid questions in the Ebb and Hold Discord. They'll just answer them anyway. They've got some great UIs and stuff there. I don't use the UIs myself, but they're pretty good. Shout out to So Smashy. He's a great Fury.
Smashy.
Yeah,
So
he did a
Smashy.
great job last time on the logs podcast episode.
Yeah, he did. True.
Shout out to Ziff, our fearless raid leader, who cuts us up into shape when we're playing sloppy. And shout out to my DK bros in my in the guild, Todger, Wilsey, and Rodix, all great DKs.
I'm sorry.
Yay. Poor Uwu. he got a lot of shout outs from you, though. So, you know.
Anyway, but yeah, he's a tanky.
He's never
not part of the bro.
mentioned.
He's not part of the bro DPS culture.
Poor Uwu tanking. The other
Yeah,
DPS don't play with him.
paladins and stuff.
Iwu chose tank. Iwu came to me like in TBC and said he wanted to tank in Wrath the Lich King, so it's his own choice.
Oh, it's on him. So
It is.
anyway, Kid, thanks for being here. It's always amazing to have someone from Sholazar on. You guys are cool.
Thank you for having me.
We're going to have a lot of links in the description somewhere. Probably at the end of it, like we usually do. It'd be interesting to have a chat in the future with some people regarding ICC once we have a little bit more information as to what Blizzard is going to do.
Yep.
Maybe get an episode going about ICC, what we are looking for, what we're not, what was it like back in the day, if someone was playing ICC back in the day, versus to what's going to be like now. But to anyone who stayed here and to anyone from the Havana Room guild that actually listened to this episode, I'm pretty sure you
Rizzle?
guys, yeah, like Rizzle. I bet you guys are not insulted. So everything's cool. But if you are, it's my opinion. So who cares?
You know where to find that
Do I know? Yeah, you can. You know where to find me and crucify me. So it's okay.
Can people contact you, kids, or can I contact you if I have a Death Knight? Because I don't know about those. Like, are you the person I can direct them to ask questions?
Yeah, if you want to, I'm always happy to answer questions.
Aw. See, that's why I like Sholazar. See. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, guys. Git, again, thanks for having you. Well, thanks for being
Thank
here.
you very
Actually, thanks for having you.
A shout out to Greg, by the way. He never
Yes,
gets
yes,
the glory. Yeah.
yes, Greg.
He's the only one why the DKs are so good.
Probably. Oh, you mean Gary?
Gary!
He went from
Fucking
George
these-
to Greg to Gary like real quick.
There was someone
Yeah.
else as well. I can't remember what it was. I called before we started. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Shout out
didn't
to
find
Gary.
G. Yes.
Anyways, we'll see you on the next one. Take care. And where's Craig? Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.